I mean, yeah, we're going to finish strong with your story. So take it away. What can the students listening to this do to develop a mindset that will open up a world of opportunity to them? And what did you do to do the same?
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to break this down into five key, kind of more actionable steps you can take.
Cool.
So I'll just share my screen now. So hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I am Ammielle. I'm 16 from the Southern Ontario region. I'm really passionate about science communication, and I love to, I guess, showcase my work through articles and videos. I've been posting on YouTube and Medium for months now, which recently led me to having my article published in Forbes, which feel free to check out later if you're interested. But throughout the year, I've been writing about everything from protein engineering to, DNA, digital data storage, and biological circuits. And I've been filming a lot of my takeaways for what I've been learning at TKS and condensing that into short videos about my action items and takeaways, which has allowed me to showcase my progress and work. I'm also really interested about the intersection of biology and technology. So that's what you have in the corner over there. But I'm just trying to see how we can drive sustainable development. And it's something I can see myself pursuing long term, a passion I was able to find through TKS. And then where you see the mother is kind of what I've been working on more recently at an organization where our goal is ultimately to prevent extreme blood loss after birth. And our organization is called Ending Maternal Mortality. And we're looking to prevent this condition by training birth attendants as well as distributing medication and empowering community members. And finally, the little tube you see there is something I've been working on most recently at TKS, which is a solution to, I guess, overall bring bioprinters closer to reality and really accelerate the development and have these filaments. So it's part of everything I've been doing at TKS. And without further ado, I just thought I'd get started. My number one tip overall is really a reiteration of everything that's been said so wonderfully by Sijil and Arnav, but it really is to figure it out. During the first wave of the pandemic, I was stuck at home and I was really bored and I started to learn to code. I knew it was a critical skill. No one really around me knew how to code either. It was just something I thought I should figure it out, and I did. And this is a skill, for example, that is translated really well into what I do at EMM, which, as I mentioned, is Ending Maternal Mortality, where my role within their whole organization is legal development. And at 16, I do not have a background in law whatsoever. I'm not qualified, probably not really qualified policies or make any formal changes, but I really have been learning as much as possible about data protection and information security. And even without, like, let's say years and years of experience, I've been able to meet with incredible lawyers and contacts who have been able to help me and offer me so much support. So this does go along with building out your network, but it really starts from within, or it can start right now. I would say, to break this down a little more, I would encourage you to find a topic or skill that you would want to learn about. You have the time over the summer, so just figure out what maybe outcome you want to drive, where you see yourself by the end of the summer break, and determine really what you need to learn, as Arnav had mentioned with the map, and then really follow tutorials, watch videos, complete courses, and I promise Google will become your best friend. And especially, I think this skill is really relevant in today's day and age, is that we really have no clue what skills will be needed in 10-20 years. Maybe there'll be robots everywhere and what we're learning right now just isn't applicable. So you want to have the ability to learn and adapt. And I've heard this countless times, so just thought I'd squeeze it in there. Yeah, thanks to the internet, everything we want to know is at our fingertips. So it's really about how we train our figured out mindset, how we build resiliency and tenacity and become resourceful. That is the most important thing in my opinion. But next would be to build as much as possible. A mistake I made while I was learning to program is that I literally just did tutorial after tutorial, course after course. I gathered dozens of certificates, but what was I doing with them? I wasn't putting it into practice. I wasn't building anything. And I think that's also the pillar of TKS's approach to really guiding us through what we're building throughout the years, is do and reflect and feedback and do again, kind of cycle, where it's really about building projects and growing your portfolio. I think this is also a way in which TKS has brought a lot of value through challenges, and where we have the ability to develop our presentation, our writing, design, ideation, collaboration, research skills. It's really being able to hone on these abilities that are really allowing us to put it to use and put it into practice. And not only does this help you, get that foundational understanding, but it is about building out your portfolio and showing other people what you're made of and establish credibility. And this was particularly helpful, or something I wanted to put into practice when writing articles. So I was writing weekly articles for a couple months, and then I was able to send that out to a bunch of publishers in publications in the synthetic biology field. I was meeting with people, and as I was building my network, I was able to show them my content, and I was like, here's what I've been learning, and other like forms of emails. I was keeping them updated on everything I was doing, and I guess it is a part of establishing my credibility and allowing me to get an opportunity to publish my work in Forbes, to show other people what I can do. And it really is about building publicly. So what I want you to take from this is that whatever you're building right now, even if it's just your class notes, even if it's just, something you're drawing, or you're even working putting a lot of effort in, I want you to just get it out there, and to be creative and really exercise those building or training skills. Or just be proud of what you're doing and improve your communication skills around building as well. So that is also very similar to what has been previously said, but it really just want to put an emphasis on that. Next is to fail fast. I love this mindset. Probably one of my favorite things about TKS as well is that it's the importance of really getting your work out there. So as I mentioned, you want to build, and then you want to get as much feedback as possible. I reflect on what you're doing and see how that works for you. Over the summer, I realized I was not like making it much progress. I wasn't building anything. My skills had been kind of stagnating for a while. I would have gotten feedback from, let's say, advisors or other people around me who did have a programming background, who could have helped me say, well, here's how you could have made this more efficient, or here's another project for you to look at. So it is really about getting constant feedback and reiterating on your work. And another case that this has helped me was as I was preparing for a couple of virtual conferences and talks in the last weeks, where I would stay up until like midnight just trying to get as many versions of a speech or a talk out. And it was lots of long nights, but it was really valuable overall because I was able to get so much input and until it made me feel like something I was proud of. And yeah, looking back, those first YouTube videos and Medium articles were kind of cringy because I really wanted to get that out there as quickly as possible, but it allowed me to really improve upon my skills over the long term. And then I put a muscle here because that's how I love to think about it, where you are really training yourself and you're developing a love for errors, and that skills and habits are like a muscle. So you want to work on them every day. You want to put, strain, you want to embrace failure, and then use maybe next time your hesitancy or your doubts as a trigger to action and to produce better output overall. And finally have a something you can be proud of, essentially. Or maybe to ask good questions. So this also goes along with what's been mentioned about networking and really having the ability to communicate, but it's around like being humble where you're at right now. So of course, most of us will be high school students if we're interested in seeing how we can prepare for the summer and make the most out of it. But we need to acknowledge that there's so much for us to learn, that when we do go out and meet people, or when we do have these skills or when we have the opportunity to connect with others and are surrounded by especially high performing people, that we can ask any question, and that we should really be taking as many opportunities as possible to learn from the people we connect with. So I would say that asking good questions has been super pivotal in TKS and overall for me, where I want to make sure that these are questions I can be vulnerable about and say, I have no clue what the answer to this is. Can you maybe help me figure it out? Can you, provide some guidance here and there? So I definitely want to double down on that. There's so many different ways you can formulate your questions that'll help you get the answers you want. But it really is about like keeping an open mind and knowing that there's so much you don't know, and that's okay. And that's what you're here to change. And finally, I want to go over the importance of high standards. I've also been super fortunate to be surrounded by really incredibly high standards and work ethics and performances through my year at TKS, and even my work at EMM now, where I'm working with other high school students, but just the effort they put in and how well they perform really encourages me to not take shortcuts, to avoid cutting corners, and to really put my creative work forward, to really feel like I'm contributing to something. So I'd say, as much as this year has been like isolating and we're kind of working on our own, it's hard to connect with others. Overall, I want to say that you want to surround yourself with people who are there to support you and people you can learn from as well, because excellence does rub off. You will be able to adopt those high standards as well, and you become the people you want to work with. So what do high standards look like for you? Identify those, build upon those, and really over the next 2 months in the summer, be sure to know what you want to look like and how you're going to work there by setting the example. Even if it is just seeing what, let's say, the top CEOs or the top pioneers in certain industries are doing, learn from them and see what maybe mindsets or habits you can take from them. And you know, watching this webinar is a great first step because you've been willing to sit here and learn from us. And I'm sure there are so many more people online you can learn from, and as well as people in real life. So be sure to ask good questions, be sure to embrace failure, to build as much as possible to get your foot out the door. And lastly, or most importantly, I guess, figure it out because you got this. And now how are you going to make the most of the next months?
I mean, that was awesome. What a great way to finish it up. You know what, one point, and I know you like drilled down on it already, but I think it deserves that much more attention. I think it was point number 2 for you, like build as much as possible in a public. So for the educators watching this, they may be familiar with the name George Couros. He's, you know, an awesome Canadian educator, somebody I was just talking to not that long ago. And we were talking about the same thing, where most of the stuff that we're having students do, like the work they're doing within class that we assign to them, is kept within the firewall that is the education system, right? Like all the stuff they submit to Google Classroom, that stays within Google Classroom. And more often than not, they lose that when they leave high school. So when employers are searching for, hey, maybe do I want to hire this student for internship? Do I want to hire this adult for their job? They're not going to see any of the amazing work that your kids did within your class, because that's protected by your IT firewall within your district and is probably destroyed after they leave. So it's important for students to be building things and building things in public, so that when someone does search for Sejal, for Ammielle, for Arnav, they're going to see the amazing stuff that these kids are doing. So I can't highlight that enough.